It's finally that time. Episode 4, the last episode of Month of Villains 2022. I know it's December, but I didn't realize how much time was going to wind up taking. Mostly because I don't have too much time to actually record stuff, as it turns out. So with that said, let's get right into a much longer episode of Month of Villains. And let's start out with a relative unknown in the animation field. We once again revisit Rooster Teeth with a little show called Camp Camp with Daniel. Basically, the show is Camp Lazlo with the humor of South Park. That's practically Camp Camp, and honestly, it's a working combination. And for their second season, they premiered with a very interesting villain indeed. When the staff of Camp Camp needed a new member, the guy they hired looked exactly like one of the camp counselors, David. I won't spoil what he does, but considering the clothes, the eyes, just the typical Aryan look, you can kind of figure out what he does in the episode. Honestly, this episode and Daniel were a lot of fun, and he even gets to provide us a villain song with him duking out against David for the spotlight in the camp. And yeah, it's pretty rare to see not just a non-Disney cartoon make a villain song, but a non-Disney cartoon from the internet making a villain song. And it is great. I love it. Honestly, I do love Camp Camp, and I absolutely recommend the show if you haven't seen it already. Okay, finally, we get to, honestly, one of my favorite cartoons of all time, Steven Universe, and with their original villain, Jasper. And honestly, I didn't like Jasper at first hand. I know a lot of fans of the show will be very surprised by that, because, yeah, Jasper, honestly, I was very conflicted because, I don't know, nothing clicked with me. But as I rewatched some of the episodes with her in it, and even watching Steven Universe Future, I came around to Jasper eventually. There are times where Jasper can be genuinely threatening and terrifying. She's almost up to the level of the damn diamonds at some points. But not really, because, can't really beat planetary destruction and, being a giant dictator who is 100 times your size, but whatever. If I drew one of those guys, it would take more than 3 or 4 panels to fit them, so yeah, no. I may not have enjoyed Jasper at first glance, but after watching the show enough, I did come around to her eventually, and made her an easy favorite among villains from Cartoon Network. Easy. We go from one of the more threatening villains on the list to one of the more funny ones. From Futurama Mom. And she is one of those cases of those rich people that make you have a false sense of security, thinking oh, they're really sweet, they're really wholesome, they stand for something wonderful, when in real life she's an egotistical jerk, and it's perfect. It's I feel like she's probably one of the best examples of that kind of villain. For context, we're talking 1,000 years from now. She'd basically be one of the cornerstones of creating the robots of this civilization, and every robot in existence loves her, thinking that she's their mom. Again, the name kind of speaks for itself. They treat her like a mother and think she's all nice and wonderful while she sells them the necessities to live, their oil, and yeah, to be this bitchy is great. It's I think it's also her performance that really sells it, because you can do a jerk villain and can do nothing with it, but in this case, Tress MacNeille's voice is great in this regard. Honestly, I'm gonna cut it short there because I do have a lot more to talk about Mom, but like, I do want to squeeze this video out as early as I can, and definitely before the year ends, so, yeah, Mom. Oh my god, I love Hercules. Hercules is easily a top-tier Disney movie. Like, in terms of comedy, second best, right next to The Emperor's New Groove, but trying to match the caliber of Emperor's New Groove is a very, very tough task, and yeah, if I have to pick my favorite character in the entire movie, it's Hades, because there's so much charisma and absolutely fun energy that comes from this guy, and I can't help but have so much fun when he's on screen. I think it's because when they casted James Woods, like, first of all, a very unconventional pick, but something that worked super well because not only does he deliver the written lines so well, but the guy did a lot of incredible improv for the film, and yeah, Hades will never be the same without him. And yeah, Disney knows that so well that in every other iteration when Hades has to be on screen, like, James Woods is always brought back because he loves playing the guy. And can we talk about the man's design? Like, oh my god. I swear, in most iterations of, like, Greek mythology, Hades has always been seen as incredibly threatening, incredibly built, strong, and yeah, this is not what Hades is in this film. Like, they know what they can do for him. Like, give him a much more cunning look. The fire hair is hilarious, and, yeah, it's, again, very unconventional for Greek myths, but it works so well. God, this is another Disney movie I absolutely recommend watching because not just for Hades, but for every single voice that is a part of this film. Like, Danny DeVito, Susan Egan, whomever, like, all of them are great, and, yeah. Go watch Hercules because it's easily, like, among the Disney Renaissance greatest movies. People are gonna argue with me if this character counts as a villain. Technically, she's known a lot more now as kind of an anti-hero, but I don't know. I feel like her villainous starts kind of count in this regard. And considering I wasn't allowed to use DC twice because of my little rule here and there, the female villain I decided to use is Black Cat. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, she's basically Catwoman, like, almost unmistakably so. Seriously, the cat theme, the black suit, the on and off again relationship with the main hero, the fact that she's a thief, yeah, it's definitely Catwoman, but, you know, Marvel. So why did I decide to choose her? Well, for a couple reasons. Well, in my childhood, I know her a bit from the Spider-Man cartoons, and she, I believe, is one of the only real Spider-Man villains that haven't really made a big screen appearance yet, so I'm waiting on that. Third, honestly, I thought it would just be fun to draw. Like when I drew Scarecrow, there are many different iterations of Black Cat, and I decided to go with my favorite elements with each one. Also, the mask with, like, the eyes and everything, that alone was going to be a little bit of a challenge for me trying to, you know, pull that off completely. There's not much else I can say, but, yeah, Black Cat. It's once again time to revisit Nickelodeon. We're going to, again, another cartoon from their early years to, I think, my personal favorite, like, Nickelodeon cartoon. Like, Avatar is the best one, just objectively, but if I had to pick one that I'd rewatch again and again and again, it's Invader Zim. And we have a rare instance of a villainous protagonist. That's right, the alien whose name is in the title of the show is the one I'm drawing. And yeah, love this guy. And a huge contributor to that is Richard Horvitz, the voice of Zim, who gives out a wonderful performance. For those who don't know him, he's also Billy from Billy and Mandy and Moxie from Hell of a Boss. And yeah, his voice is iconic, and whether it's his voice or the various plans to take over the Earth, and how each situation ends, makes this a great character in general, and also a great show. So great, in fact, that we got probably one of the only really good movies based off a TV show with 2019's Invader Zim Enter the Florpus. Hell, there are times where Zim doesn't even try to take over the Earth. There are times where he's either fighting other aliens who try to take over the Earth, or even an episode where he just gets himself lost in the city he's in, and that's the whole episode. I know it may seem like a boring concept, but trust me, the execution is flawless. It's easily one of those shows that definitely deserved a lot more episodes than it did before it got canceled way back in the early 2000s. But whatever the case, Invader Zim is another really great show that I recommend watching, as long as you're not easily squeamish. Alright, we got another sequel villain on this list, and I'm just gonna let her introduce herself. Hit it! That's right, it's the fairy godmother from Shrek 2. God, this movie's really good, and the fairy godmother, once again, steals the show in this one. I mean, for crying out loud, you can't name another villain who, like, just decides to just randomly go up on stage just to have an iconic musical number like that. Like, oh my god! It's such a weird concept to make the fairy godmother evil, but it works out so well, and Shrek is known to make some really good interpretations of these classic fairy tale characters. Note I said most because, just don't watch Shrek the Third, oh my god. And of course, instead of her light purple gray dress that she usually has, of course I had to draw her in the red dress. In her most iconic moment in the film. Yeah, this film's iconic, and this song, as well as just everything around it, can easily be one of the best third acts of any film, let alone from the studio. So yeah, Shrek 2 is great, y'all know it, and yeah. It was a wonderful film, and I'm probably gonna see it again soon. Okay, I've mentioned about how Adventure Time and Steven Universe are among one of my favorite shows from Cartoon Network. However, I did not do my favorite up until now. My favorite Cartoon Network show, easily, since I was a kid, was Samurai Jack. And yeah, one of my favorite villains of all time is Aku, and Aku is great. Endlessly dangerous, endlessly hilarious, and endlessly quotable. Extra thick! Aku is amazingly designed, amazingly written, and again, attached to one of my favorite cartoons ever. And yeah, as you can imagine, when the new show came out, like the new season 5, I got really excited, and when I did watch it, I definitely thought it was worth it. It was wonderful. There's something about this art style that just oozes with greatness. Like, there's not many shows like it that have like a mostly lineless art style to it and manage to pull it off so greatly. Like, my god, Samurai Jack is so good. Also, it goes without saying that Aku was one of my favorite characters to draw. Like, I never really do lineless art styles or lineless art, so it was quite the experience when drawing Aku and trying to get his expression right. Like, it's wonderful, and I really love how he turned out. I knew eventually I would get a Pokemon villain into this. And this one's from a more recent entry in the franchise, Pokemon Sun and Moon, with Lusamine. And she's about as crazy can get. She became so obsessed with Ultra Beasts, which are like basically legendaries in these new games, that she practically disowns both her daughter and her son and proceeds to berate them on numerous occasions, especially her daughter. Like, Yeah, she's an awful mother, oh my god. And what's worse is that she became obsessed with a certain one, Nihiligo, that not only did she wind up using it, but also fucking allows it to fuse with her, and she turns into this thing! Oh my god. Okay, enough backstory. Let's talk about Lusamine and how, her design was one of the most difficult ones to draw, and yeah, it was not fun. There was, like, a lot of specific details, and her hair never really clicked. Like, that took me a while to do the hair, because what is that hair? Oh my god. And yeah, obviously when Lusamine has to be mentioned in this, I also had to draw Nihiligo as well, because why not at this point? Because people claim that Nihiligo was the real villain, because her obsession may or may not have been involved with certain toxins made by Nihiligo to brainwash her. But, you know, still, her actions, like, outside of that are still awful regardless. Overall, I did not like drawing her, but I think I did alright with her. It's finally that time. The final day of the month, the 31st of October, Halloween. And what better character to cap off this month than a person who thrives in this certain town of Halloween? Yep, it's Oogie Boogie, the Boogeyman from The Nightmare Before Christmas. The Nightmare Before Christmas is just an easy film to like. Whether it be the absolutely amazing stop-motion animation, or the great character designs, or the songs, or just about the overall feel of the movie. Whether you're watching it for the spooks in Halloween, or for the Christmassy goodness in December. Which, actually, considering this video's out in December, it almost feels kind of perfect for this to be there. It also goes without saying that Oogie Boogie is a huge contributor to why the film is great. And also has easily one of the best songs in the movie as well. And rather than going with the tan color that he usually is, I'm gonna go with his more glow-in-the-dark state, because I just love the colors. That's just mainly why. Also at work, there's like a Halloween decoration of Oogie Boogie singing his song, and he's also glowing green, so I guess I have a little more of a bias towards that, I guess. Overall, Oogie Boogie's great, and I could not have picked a more perfect choice for the final day of Month of Villains. And there you have it. My Month of Villains 2022 is complete. It was quite the journey to make it up to this point, but I am just glad that it's all finished. So with that said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next art challenge. Bye!